Today, I'm going to talk about ways to feel more energy while reducing food cravings. And if you want to hear about tips that are backed by real science, then I'm going to actually give that to you by combining the specific foods with specific lifestyle moves that I actually use myself. And you want to learn about that, you got to watch this video to the very end. All right. And if you like what you hear, hit subscribe. Are you ready? Let's go ahead and dive in. So, my first tip for having more energy and reducing food cravings is to drink green tea. Now, green tea, as you probably have heard, is good for so many aspects of health. But when it comes to having energy, it's really about the polyphenols that are in green tea called catechins. Well, okay. Also, the caffeine that's actually in green tea gives you energy as well. All right. Caffeine, by the way, are in the leaves of the green tea. And if you want more caffeine in the green tea, get green tea. The leaves have been picked later in the season. And if you want less caffeine, get the leaves that have been picked earlier in the season of the tea season, growing season. They call it first pick ones, the little early teas leaves. They call them white tea. Later in the season, it's regular green tea leaves. And here's why: for caffeine. Turns out that the tea plant produces caffeine as a natural insecticide, right? It keeps away bugs. All right. Now think about that. Early blooming. The tea is happening in the spring. Not a lot of bugs around, so you don't need very much caffeine. In fact, the white tea, spring tea, actually has almost no caffeine at all. Wait later in the summer, and there's a lot of bugs buzzing around in the summertime. The leaves are full of caffeine. All right. And if you've ever been to a place like a tea plant plantation, you'll see that they actually tend to be in hot tropical areas, all right, or tropical like areas. And there's going to be a lot of bugs. That's growing in nature. All right. And the tea plant makes more caffeine in there. So it's stronger tea, gives you energy as well. All right. Now, I got to tell you, I drink tea in the evening. I find it relaxing, even though it's got some caffeine. Green tea just doesn't keep me up at night. All right. And I sleep just fine. And maybe that is genetic. I had a great uncle who lived in China at the base of a tea mountain. He drank at least 10 cups of tea a day, and he never had a problem sleeping at all. And he lived to, by the way, 104 years old. All right. But for me, sipping a cup of tea does give me energy, but it's also very calming. And all this benefit that you get from tea is actually from the polyphenol, the catechin called EGCG. So what does that stand for? Epigallocatechin 3 gallate. All right, epigallocatechin 3 gallate. I'm not going to ask you to say it 3 times because I could barely do it myself, but just know that people who are researchers like me, like we know what's actually in it. Now, the polyphenol activates your metabolism by triggering your brown fat. Now, if you didn't know what brown fat is, you should listen to another video where I talk about brown fat, or you should read my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. And if you haven't read it, let me show you. This is what it looks like. Eat to Beat Your Diet is not a diet book. It's an anti-diet book. It talks about how you can eat foods and drink beverages like tea that activate your metabolism naturally, so you don't have to go on a diet. Now, one of the things that tea and other foods do, got to read about the other foods in my book, they activate your brown fat. Now, your brown fat is a special kind of beneficial fat that's found in the body. It's not lumpy bumpy like the harmful white fat that's under your arm or under your chin. It's not the muffin top that you have, or it's not in your thighs or your butt. Brown fat is actually wafer thin, and it's not located close to the surface of your skin. It's actually on both sides of your neck, like close to the bone, all right? A little bit behind your breastbone, a little bit, tiny bit between your shoulder blades, and then a little bit in your belly. And this brown fat can be triggered by green tea, okay? And there's other foods as well that can trigger the brown fat. And it's also not just foods, cold temperature will also trigger it. So think about how people are talking about the benefits of the cold plunge for your metabolism. That's real. That triggers your brown fat. And when you trigger your brown fat, it fires up. What do I mean by fire up? What I mean to say is that when you trigger your brown fat, it turns on a process called thermogenesis. Now, thermogenesis is exactly what it sounds like: thermo, heat, genesis, generating heat. So when you trigger your brown fat by drinking green tea, you're triggering the generation of heat in the brown fat. How does it do this? Well, the brown fat actually generates heat by activating something called mitochondria. A lot of people talking about mitochondria these days. Mitochondria are like little tiny nuclear batteries that are inside your cells, inside the brown fat cells. And there's a lot of them in brown fat. All right. In fact, there's so many of them that the mitochondria, which have a lot of iron in them, okay, and what happens to iron when they oxidize? They rust, right? It turns brown. A lot of these brown oxidized mitochondria get together. It makes the entire fat brown looking. That's why brown fat is brown. So if you're ever wondering, like, why do they call that brown fat? Because a lot of mitochondria with a lot of iron, kind of like rusting, that all gets together. And these are the power packs. These are the nuclear batteries of your brown fat. And when you drink green tea or go to a cold plunge, you fire up the brown fat. It goes like, it's like in your, if you have a gas stove, what do? You turn on the thing, click, 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 whoosh, you get the flame. That's what happens when you're actually turning on thermogenesis in your brown fat by triggering the mitochondria. All right, green tea will do this. Now, when you're triggering the mitochondria, you're generating energy. Okay, where does it draw the fuel from to be able to generate this heat and this energy? It draws the brown fat draws that energy from your stores of white fat. That's the wiggly jiggly stuff you don't want. That is the stuff, the visceral fat that's buried in a tube of your body, deep inside your belly. All right, that's the stuff that's dangerous and you don't want it. It's very inflammatory. You want to burn that stuff down, and brown fat will do it. And green tea will trigger that brown fat to turn on thermogenesis, which will then draw energy from the bad fat, and the good fat will actually burn it down. And then you actually have more energy, okay? That's actually one of the remarkable things about green tea that actually give you energy. Now, not only does brown fat trigger thermogenesis and give you energy, but the other thing that happens is that tea will stimulate your brain to release a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. All right. Now, this is a chemical signal that your brain releases that will take away your hunger. All right. So you're less likely to have food cravings at the same time. So it's going to generate energy, take away your food cravings. And that is basically what green tea can actually do. Now, how much green tea should you drink? I like to be really practical, right? People always are saying they like what I talk about because I try to make it as practical as possible. Well, across the board, I mean, there are hundreds of studies involving green tea for lots of different applications. In general, most of the studies have concluded that drinking 3 to 4 cups of green tea a day hits the sweet spot. All right. So if you want the general benefits of green tea and you don't want to think about it, don't worry about the mechanism, don't worry about the polyphenols, 3 to 4 cups will do you. All right. Now, there's also an urban legend that's floating around. I want to smash it right now. And that urban legend is that drinking tea of any sort will cause dehydration. So be very careful. Don't drink tea. All right. Okay, let me just kind of take out Thor's hammer and smash that myth, because basically clinical studies have shown, and these are studies involving both coffee and tea. Coffee also has this mythology that if you drink it, you're going to dehydrate yourself. I used to believe it myself, but the clinical studies have pretty much shown that if you drink less than 10 cups of tea or coffee a day, you're not going to be dehydrated. Because don't forget, the coffee and tea is actually adding liquid into your body, all right? So I think for most people, if you drink 3 to 4 cups, it's good. Don't drink more than 10 cups, all right? Well, my great uncle did drink probably 10 cups, but I don't know. He lived for a long time. So anyway, tea. The other thing it does, by the way, for helping to make you not overeat, is that when you're drinking the liquid from tea, you're stretching out your stomach, right? Liquid goes into the stomach, stretches the stomach out a little bit, and these stretch receptors make you feel full. Even though you haven't eaten food, you're starting to feel full. That signals to your brain, not eat, don't eat, you're full. So your food cravings will come down as well, all right? And there's clinical evidence to support this, all right? All these benefits. In fact, there's a group of researchers at the Isfahan University of Medical Sciences. This is in Iran. And they looked at green tea. They studied 70 women who had metabolic syndrome. So they were a little overweight, they had high blood pressure, their blood glucose was high, their lipids are high. Anyway, these researchers divided them into two groups. One group got basically 7 ounces, just under a cup of green tea to drink 3 times a day. So that's basically 3 cups of green tea every day for 8 weeks. That's 2 months. And the other half of the group just drank lukewarm water, okay, kind of mimics a tea. And the results show that the green tea drinkers lost 2 more pounds from the tea, and they also reduced their waist circumference, right? Remember I told you about visceral fat inside the tube of your body? Well, guess what? If you got metabolic syndrome, that fat inside the tube is pushing out. So your belt size has to be a little bit bigger. You got to unloosen your belt a little bit. Your waist size is going to be larger. Guess what? Green tea drinkers, they shrank their waist circumference by 3/4 of an inch compared to the group that just drank lukewarm water. So tea burns down that fat. All right. They also had better glucose levels. Their bad LDL cholesterol levels also went down. So a lot of other benefits, as I mentioned to you, that green tea actually has. And by the way, there was also a lowering of their blood pressure, which is another benefit of green tea. And don't forget, green tea has this calming effect. All right. Very important. If you're somebody who gets ratcheted up and you're just looking for an opportunity to stay calm, get calm, stay calm, I highly recommend green tea. All right. Another food tip for energy and preventing food cravings. You might laugh at this, but it's eating dark chocolate. All right. Now, dark chocolate is a confection, but dark chocolate has a lot of cacao. And cacao is a plant-based seed that's roasted and fermented and crushed up, and it's got polyphenols in it, right? So the darker the chocolate, the higher the percent of cacao, and that means you got more of the plant polyphenol. That's how that basic works, all right? I like to talk about dark chocolate that's beneficial being 70 to 80% or higher. That's the amount of cacao that's actually used, so you're getting a lot of it. And what's inside the cacao? Well, a polyphenol called proanthocyanidin. Again, don't worry about memorizing these words, but the proanthocyanidins in dark chocolate, what do? Triggers brown fat, just like green tea. And what does that do? It generates energy, burns down harmful body fat. So it's good for your metabolism in all the right directions, just like green tea. But here's the thing. Eating dark chocolate can actually reduce food cravings. Now, you might think the opposite. You might say, when I eat some chocolate, I can't stop eating it. It's so delicious. But clinical studies have actually shown that even the smell of dark chocolate, like if you're somebody who wants to savor dark chocolate, don't, eat a whole bar like that. Savor it. All right. I think drinking a cup of hot coffee, black coffee with dark chocolate is a great way of doing it, or even tea. All right. But even the smell of dark chocolate, 85% cacao, as well as eating the chocolate, decreases a hormone that in the body called ghrelin. Now, ghrelin is known as a hunger hormone. So the smell of dark chocolate lowers your hunger. All right. And when your hunger is lowered, you're less likely to actually crave other foods, and you're less likely to actually overeat as well. And by the way, the proanthocyanidins, they have other very, very important health features and benefits as well. They lower inflammation, all right? The proanthocyanidins also help your body release stem cells into your bloodstream. Now, these stem cells, all right, they live in your bone marrow. They come out of your bone marrow like bees coming out of a hive, and eating dark chocolate can actually do this. And they're looking for problems where they can fix. It's kind of like sending out the highway road crew to look for potholes to patch up so that the traffic can flow more smoothly. That's what these stem cells do. They cause regenerative healing from the inside out. All right. And how do we know that's true? Well, clinical studies have shown that, having even just 2 cups of hot chocolate made with dark chocolate a day for a month can double the number of stem cells in your bloodstream for repairing it. It actually improves the resiliency of your blood vessels. So you can actually deliver blood a lot better. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is that dark chocolate triggers the release of endorphins. Now, these are feel-good hormones in your brain. And when you have the endorphins being released, it naturally reduces cravings for unhealthy, sugary foods. All right. So now the key thing about chocolate, it's true for all foods. All right, that I ever talk about in any of my books, like Eat to Beat Disease or Eat to Beat Your Diet. By the way, I've got the books right here. Eat to Beat Disease has all stuff on chocolate and tea, and Eat to Beat Your Diet has sections on chocolate and tea. These are foods that I actually really believe on are beneficial for our health. But what my point is that when you actually are thinking about healthy foods, including or maybe especially chocolate, it's all about moderation. Don't overdo it. More isn't more. Think about dark chocolate as a condiment or a snack. All right. And by the way, if you want to actually find interesting ways to figure out how to use dark chocolate, I like to add it to some dark chocolate to tree nuts. All right, my kind of trail mix, like you've got your tree nuts, could be almonds, pecans, macadamias, pistachios, what have you. Okay, with some bits of dark chocolate, that is a great combo. All right, and by the way, the tree nuts by themselves can reduce food cravings. They also make you full, so you're less likely to overeat at your next meal. So these are all little practical tips, little practical tricks of how to actually use these foods that actually give you more energy. They ramp up your metabolism and they help you lower burn down harmful body fat, but they also reduce cravings as well. Okay, energy tip number 3, eat some beans. All right. Now, turns out that beans, lima beans, pinto beans, black beans, lentils, the beans, navy beans, I love. Beans are one of the best sources of plant-based protein and fiber. Beans provide super long-lasting energy. They help your body manage blood glucose better. So your metabolism smooths out in a healthier way. And beans contain something called soluble fiber. All right, that's good for your gut microbiome too. Now, your gut microbiome, the healthy gut bacteria, is responsible for your energy because it actually helps to streamline your metabolism so your insulin sensitivity is better. All right, your glucose levels actually are more leveled out in order to give you more energy, more efficiency. And beans also make you feel fuller. They're satiating, so you're less likely to overeat at the next meal, but you're also less likely to reach out for a snack as well, less likely to crave for those snacks. Now, beans, lentils, black beans, navy beans, so many ways you can use them. Like I like to have them in a soup or a stew. Something that is a crowd pleaser at my house. You want to make a chili out of it. These beans, then you get leftovers. All right, now it saves you time as well. Not very expensive. They're super affordable. So beans are great for health. They're good for your wallet. They're good for your schedule. They give you more energy. They make you crave less and overeat less. Actually, it can shrink your waistline as well. That's been studied in clinical studies I talk about in my book, Eat to Beat Your Diet. I teach a course called Eat to Beat Disease course. You want to learn more of these practical tips, feel free to check out my course and sign up for it. I think there's like 200 foods that I talk about in the course that are like this. Now, here's the thing about beans. How do you find them? Just go to any grocery store, go to the middle aisle, and you'll find a whole sections that'll have different kinds of beans. Beans in a can, beans in a bag. They can be dry. They could be already hydrated. And beans, because they're so affordable and they can be kept in a can or sealed up or dried for years, like 2 to 5 years, all right? Stable, shelf stable. They're really a good thing to actually have in your pantry, wherever you store your food, your larder, all right? And the other thing I love about beans is they're quick. So especially the ones in the can that are pre-soaked, basically they're already soft. All you got to do is, if you don't have time to cook a meal, open up a can of beans, put them in a pan or a pot, add some herbs and spices, add a little bit of vegetable stock or chicken stock, and you're in business, all right? You can cook that baby up, and it'll be absolutely delicious. You can doctor that up any way you want. Nutritious, metabolism activating, and it's going to make enough for leftovers for sure, and then saves you time the next day. I mean, my time is really important to me. So I love the taste of beans as well. They take on the flavors of whatever you decide to put in there. All right. Okay. Energy tip I'm going to give you now, number 4 is to drink plenty of water. I know water doesn't sound very sophisticated or fancy, but you'd be surprised how easy it is for you to not have enough water in your body, which basically means you're relatively dehydrated. And when your body doesn't have enough liquid in it, you know what's going to happen? You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel worn out. You're going to feel fatigued. You're going to lack energy, right? Your blood is made out of liquid and it delivers oxygen and nutrients to every organ, every cell in your body. And when you don't have quite enough liquid, you're going to be lagging. So what do? You actually drink enough fluid and you plump everything up. It's like putting enough water in a plant that's been kind of dry. The soil's kind of dry. Yeah, I haven't watered in like a week. All right. Put some water in it. You see everything plumping back up. All right. Your cells are going to work more efficiently. You're going to have more energy. All right. And your blood's going to flow better and your brain will actually be more hydrated. Your body's actually made of 60% water. So it's so easy to lose it. If you're sweating, if it's hot outside, if you breathe really rapidly, you're going to lose water.
Hey there. Have you heard of intermittent fasting? I'm sure you have. It's not what you eat, but it's about when you eat. And I've got a simple guide to help you get started with intermittent fasting. If you're looking for an easy way to boost your energy and improve your health, and maybe shed a few pounds along the way, this could be the perfect solution for you. In my guide, I'm going to show you how fasting helps your body burn fat and also repair itself. It's an easy thing that you can do effortlessly every single day. Plus, I'll give you tips on how to succeed with intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you the science behind why this works. Just click the link below to grab your free copy, or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Now, let's get back to the video.
Just recording this video, I'm talking all the time. I'm actually losing water, albeit, and that's why, by the way, people who perform, singers, actors, they need to drink water because when they're exhaling and speaking or singing, they are dehydrating themselves. And there's just plain old evaporation from the skin. These are called insensible losses. They're hard to calculate. You don't see them. You don't feel like you're losing water, but you are. Now, what about the food craving part of it, right? So, I told you plump yourself up with hydration, you're going to feel more energy. But what about the food craving? Well, here's the thing. When people are dehydrated and they feel thirsty, it's very easy in the brain to confuse that thirst. What you need is water. You confuse that thirst with hunger, all right? And so when you're down on your hydration, you might just reach for something to eat, to snack on. You get unnecessary calories. If it doesn't have water, now you're drying yourself out even more. Like you're going to want to actually have more water, junk food, whatever is not good for you. All right. So what your body really, really needs in those circumstances is hydration. Reach for a glass of water. All right. And by the way, if you drink water before a meal, it's going to help to control your appetite as well. And because when you're drinking that water, you're just like I told you with tea, you're going to stretch out those receptors in your stomach, the stretch receptors. And that stretched out stomach is going to tell your brain, we're kind of full. And so you're not going to be quite as hungry, all right? Because of the effect of the mass of the water stretching out your stomach, all right? Now, just drinking a glass or two of water not only helps you keep your energy up, but it actually helps to reduce your likelihood for cravings and overeating. Now, people always ask me, well, Dr. Lee, so how much water should I drink? Should it be 10 to 15 glasses like they say? I tell people that you should just pay attention to your body. If you feel thirsty, drink water, not soda, all right? Or drink tea or drink coffee. But that'll actually add hydration to your body. There's no magic rule. Depends on how big your body is. Depends on how active you are. Depends on whether it's hot outside. It depends on how much you've been working out or exercising. All those things can actually affect your water level. So there's no magic number for how much you need to drink every day. Every individual is a little bit different. Okay, one last tip about water. Please don't drink water out of a plastic bottle. Now, of course, we've all done that for years. I used to do that all the time. I think about some of these hikes I've taken. What do? You grab a plastic bottle of water. Now we know that these plastic bottles shed microplastics into the water, and then we're drinking millions of particles out of every bottle of water. There was a study that was done that showed most of the commercial bottled waters actually contain microplastics, a lot of microplastics in them. And I know, so what do? You drink water, out of a glass. It's heavy. It's not as practical, but I can tell you, filter your own water at home. That's probably one of the important things you can do, and try to cut down on, cut out drinking water out of a plastic bottle. All right. Okay. I'm going to give you one more tip about energy and reducing food cravings, and that is, guess what? When you are sitting down, to take a movement break during the day. What am I talking about? A movement break. Well, look, here's the thing. Most of us actually sit in front of a computer. Most of the time, it's getting harder and harder to be physically active as part of what we're doing every single day. Now, you probably do some exercise if you're working out, okay? But even if you work out, you're probably sitting long periods of time during the day, right? That basically that's sedentary behavior. We know from all the clinical studies that have gone on, sedentary behavior sets you up for chronic disease and all kinds of badness that can actually occur. So, and it also makes you feel more tired. So if you get on your feet every few hours and move around, I don't have any rules or instructions of exactly you have to move around. I call that getting up and moving around a movement break, okay? It's important because it turns out sitting for long periods of time, okay, and for working on a laptop, slows down the metabolism, all right? Makes you feel sluggish, makes you feel like you have less energy. And when you're sitting and feeling sluggish, you're more likely to actually reach for a snack. And then you're not being mindful of what you're doing. You're eating, you're staring, you're typing, or whatever you're actually doing, and you're looking for a snack to give you a little pick-me-up, all right? But it's really the lack of energy that you're feeling is from not moving around. So back to my tip, my hack. Every few hours, all right, every 2-3 hours, and you can set your phone to remind you if you need a reminder. Stop what you're doing, get up, take a short movement break, all right, even 5 minutes, not very much time. Move around to get up your energy, all right, because when you're moving, you're getting blood flow to happen to your muscles and your brain, you're delivering more oxygen and nutrients. You're going to feel more alert, for sure, all right? Movement also improves your body's insulin sensitivity, so your metabolism is working more efficiently. That's also going to give you more energy, all right? So how do you take a movement break? Whenever you know you're going to be sitting for a while, like I said, set a timer in your phone if you need to, or your smartwatch. It's going to remind you to stand up and move around. And by the way, I'm not talking about training for a marathon, okay, or going to the gym or going for a swim. Sure, that's good too, but I'm talking about more regular movement breaks when you have to sit for long periods of time, and you don't have to break into a sweat. Just even getting up and stretching, doing some jumping jacks or push-ups, or just walking around your office or your home. Go up and walking down a couple of stairs. I remember when I used to work in a lab, and when we're doing experiments, sometimes we'd have long periods of time sitting, as we're doing our experiments. I would have to take a break every couple of hours, and then I would actually walk the stairs to the lab. All right, always come back feeling a little bit more energized and charged, and my brain was working a little bit better. I could focus on the research. All right. Obviously, if the weather's good and you can swing it, go outside. Take a quick walk outside. I'm talking about 5 minutes. You don't have to, you don't have to go for a trek. All right. Being in nature also lowers cortisol levels, and lowering cortisol levels also lowers your craving tendencies. All right. So you're less likely to reach for some junk food. All right. So try taking some breaks. Your body is definitely going to thank you for it. All right. So there you have it. 5 simple tips for gaining energy while reducing and fighting those unhealthy food cravings. I hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Oh, by the way, if you like what you heard, hit subscribe.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.